Welcome back to the How We Can Heal podcast. Today, our guest is Josh Pais. Josh Pais is a working actor. I bet you've seen him. He's been in over 100 movies and TV shows, things like Law and Order, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Joker, and more recently, A Man in Full on Netflix. After going through traditional actor training, Josh felt there was more. He wanted to find a way to make spontaneity something he could count on, as opposed to something that might happen. As he studied and explored his way to a deeper sense of aliveness, people noticed and asked him to start teaching. This led him to create Committed Impulse, a new, revolutionary, and fully comprehensive approach to acting that departs from traditional, heady methodologies. Over the last few decades, Committed Impulse has launched careers and reignited joy for thousands of actors, entrepreneurs, and it's touched people from all walks of life. Today, we talk about Josh's new book, Lose Your Mind, The Path to Creative Invincibility. It's coming out soon on September 30th. And as we talk about today, the goal of this book is to help people shake off repetitive negative thoughts, live in the present moment, and connect to the sensations of emotions with curiosity and play. I recently read the book and found countless overlaps with the work I do in yoga and trauma recovery, so I had a ton of questions for him that you'll get to hear me ask today. Our conversation is fun and full of life, and I think you'll feel that as you listen. Please join me in welcoming Josh Pais to the show. The more you learn about trauma, the more you see it everywhere. It's a superpower to see it, and it's also necessary to see beyond it. This fall, I'm offering a new class, Freedom from Trauma. In it, I'll describe why it's essential for us to identify trauma and how we can approach healing in a way that we don't end up swimming in it. You'll learn simple, not always easy, perspective and practices to help you move out of the trauma vortex and stand in something stronger and more powerful than the impacts of harm. I'm looking forward to sharing what I know with you in this new way. Visit howwecanheal.com/freedom from trauma to register for the training. Josh Pais, welcome to the How We Can Heal podcast.
Thank you.
Excited to have you here today and to talk about losing your mind.
Yeah.
Yes. So I'm a mental health professional and I read your book. I love it. There's so many overlaps between, I think, what you do and what I do, which people probably wouldn't guess, being that you're a professional actor and I'm oftentimes sitting or moving with clients in an office. But I think especially in terms of trainings, the training you offer, there's a lot of foundations that are the same. So I'm excited to dig into that a little bit today.
Great. Me too.
I want to start by asking, what are the benefits of losing your mind?
Oh my God. So many. I mean, when I, first off, I'll just say when I refer to mind in the book, it's the incessant chatter that's typically always the same. And one of the reasons that it fires up is when we disconnect from the body.
Mm,
And we typically disconnect from the body when we have, and I'm going to say the false belief that there are bad sensations.
mm.
I don't think there are any bad sensations. It's all built into our DNA.
And when
But
you
if
say
we,
sensations, you're talking about emotions.
emotions,
Yeah.
yeah, specifically emotions. A common pattern is we feel a sensation. Often it's fear, anxiety, nervousness. For some, it's happiness and joy and ecstasy. Whatever you have a low tolerance for, you manage it in some way. You
Mm.
do your whatever it is, it's all management, it's all suppression. And as soon as we disconnect from the body, the mind fires up and tells us that we suck, basically. It's some
Essentially.
form of unbelievable abuse.
Yeah.
And what's wild is I've been teaching for over 30 years, and everybody at every level, no matter how many awards they've gotten, has the worst mind,
Mm,
you know. And
mm.
so often when in class, when I'm start talking about this, people will come up to me on a break and they'll go like, I know what you're saying, but my mind is really bad.
But me, I'm different. Like this is
Yeah,
another
like
level.
no, you don't know, but
Yeah.
it's like true for everybody. And
Yeah.
so when we lose our mind to get out of here, we start to have access to our creativity. We can connect to the immediate environment where when we're engaging and with someone in any form, it's we're really being with them and people are desperate to be heard.
Yes.
And when we're up here, we are filtering out our potential. We're filtering out the world around us and live in a just these repetitive cycles. And we decrease our aliveness and decrease our health. And it's really essential. And especially with what's going on the planet on so many levels, it's a reflection of people operating from their mind and not their heart.
Yeah.
And it's no longer, that's just no longer going to help us survive as a species.
Yeah. And that's deep. I mean, you start with, I know
I'm really deep.
you
Oh, did I
are.
tell you that? I forgot to tell. I should have said that at the beginning.
Super, super deep, number one. Yeah, but I mean, I think this way too with the micro and the macro, right? Like you see something happening in an individual. And again, I've worked a lot and with families and communities and individuals in my time. And then you just see the layers of it, right? You're like, oh, this is how this happens for that person. This is how that impacts their relationships. This is how this impacts their family or their kids or and their community and their workplace and out to nth layers. And
Yeah,
so I think it is really helpful to have empowering practices these days that are present moment focused, because what I see
yeah,
is a lot of people going, maybe I watched the news or maybe I was scrolling social media and now I feel like shit. And you're like,
right,
okay, well, does you feeling like shit help anyone or anything right now?
right.
And I know we're trying not to go to like positive emotions, negative emotions, it's all sensation, but there's a disconnect that's playing out in that. There's a disconnect from, actually, I hear birds chirping right now, and there's a nice breeze in the lemon tree. And oh, my partner's right next to me on the couch, and we're both scrolling through our phones, and we're both doom scrolling when we could be holding hands or snuggling our puppy, right? So there's
Yeah,
a missed opportunity for life. And a lot of when I read and hear, listen to your work, a lot of, I think about energy, right? Like you talk about
hmm
atoms and how I know your father influenced you being, he was a physicist.
yeah. He was a theoretical physicist who worked with Einstein for 11 years,
So
and
he was pretty deep too.
he was pretty deep. Yeah,
Yeah.
and a big shift in my life came from a conversation that I had with him when I was 6 years old, and I didn't know what he did as his job because I knew other kids. It made sense what their dads did. They were like bus drivers or in New York City, drug dealers or, carpenters or, what have you. And my dad would just scribble these, what he called equations on this enormous blackboard. And so I was like, what do you do? And
What
I
is
was,
that?
what is that? What is your job? And I was sitting next to a table, and he said the smallest part of that table and the smallest part of your knee are the same thing. They're atoms.
Mm,
And he said, that's what I explore, the building blocks of the universe, and I was
mm,
like, that was super trippy, and I was just looking at everything, like everything's atoms. Um, and then, cut to when I got out of acting school and I started auditioning. And I was just crippled by fear and anxiety. And I just thought, there's no way I can do this.
mm,
And then when I reflected on the story I just told you and thought, well, if my body is atoms, then ultimately what's happened, these emotions must be atomic vibrations.
mm, mm-hmm.
And once I started to experiment feeling what I was feeling, as the most purest form of it, which is just a vibrational pattern,
Yeah.
um, then it took the judgment out of it as good and bad because it was just something, like this vibrational frequency, or it was very flowing or chaotic or compressed or expansive. And as soon as I just felt what was there, I everything opened up to me, and my acting career took off. And then soon people started to asking me to teach, what I'd been exploring.
Yeah, there's some sense of aliveness in it, right? Like that energy. It even makes me think of like qi in traditional Chinese medicine. Like
Yeah,
when we block it and it gets stagnant in certain areas, or is it flowing here, and just allowing it to move through the organs for health, right? So there's
yeah.
something about that. And maybe there's some ways we can measure it. I'm not that type of scientist, but like some ways we could look at it and figure it out. And I think there's maybe a little nth degree mysticism to it too that I personally like. I like just calling it energy or spirit or whatever.
Yeah.
But just knowing that, I mean, when you have conversations with people when you're teaching, people can relate to this, right? They're like, oh yeah, there's a
Oh yeah.
super
Well,
link. Yeah.
at first it's like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean atoms? And I say, well, I'll ask someone like, well, what do you feel right now? And they'll say anxiety, for example. And I'll be like,
Yes.
but what do you feel? And there's like anxiety, and it's like,
Yes.
but but what do you like, how do you know what you're feeling is anxiety? Like, what is the
Yes. I've had the
signal?
same conversation with so
Yeah,
many people. I'm like,
yeah,
define anxiety. So many people say they have it, and they're talking about a million different things, even,
yeah.
right?
Well, I think a lot of people, when they talk, when I ask them what their experience of anxiety is, they talk about the thoughts that they're having.
Huh.
It's like,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just feel terrible. I feel like an imposter. I feel like I'm no good. And none of those, your body has no idea what feeling like an imposter is.
Hmm.
It does not you don't feel that, but you feel something moving around in here. And then as soon as you suppress it, then the mental chatter starts, and then that's often what people identify as anxiety. But if you stay with the purity of the sensation, I've found that it shifts within 7 to 12 seconds.
Yeah.
If you suppress it, you'll it'll hang out for days, weeks, or years.
Yeah. Until you're ready to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of baggage to build up, right?
I think it's on page 25 of my book. I talk about the greatest myth of our time.
Yes.
And this myth, it's what causes all the pain. I mean, it's addiction, war, domestic abuse, being perpetually upset. And the myth is, and it's so simple, but it's so ingrained in all of us from like birth. Well, maybe not quite birth, but as soon as we are able to communicate through most people through the rest of their lives. And the myth is that there are good and bad sensations.
Hmm.
And that is, it's just, it's not true.
Hmm.
It's
Mhm.
not true. It's like we are the human being is designed to feel the full range of sensation that we feel. It's in
Yeah.
our design. And so the work that I do is about increasing your tolerance
Yeah.
for you as opposed to a technique to not feel this and
Mhm.
and not feel that.
Yeah.
And it's like we can't selectively edit ourselves. If we
Hmm.
try to reduce one sensation, we reduce them all.
Yeah. I work a lot with like complex trauma and child abuse. So of course I hear like those people in my head and those extreme circumstances of like, well, if a kid's being abused and they're not feeling good and they're managing it with dissociation. I think it's important in those situations to point out we're just surviving, right? You
Yep.
put things to the
Absolutely.
side because they're too much for now. We don't have the support to feel it. Maybe
Yep.
the therapist in 20 years can hold our hand to feel it. Like that's
Yep.
adaptive and good. So we're not trying to
Yes.
say if you
Oh,
can't feel
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. It's, it, but it's just a catch if it becomes a lifestyle of suppression.
And healing is often that especially in those extreme cases I'm thinking of, like that slow paced, okay, like can you feel this now? Can you feel that now? What if I hold
Right.
your hand? What if we bring in all the supports? What if we go to a peaceful place first? What if we just take the smallest little piece of this feeling that's really overwhelming? Like there's all these
Yes.
ways that we
Yep.
that's where I feel like there's this Venn diagram of what you're doing and what I'm doing that's
Absolutely.
so similar. It's so much somatic psychotherapy in it of like, yeah, feel it to heal it. And when the whole point is it's too much to feel, well, then let's find ways to widen that window. Let's
Yeah.
find ways to bring in the sensation because it is true. A lot of times people have a whole bunch of experience and sensation, and we might, it might be harm. They might have been harmed a lot as a young person.
Right.
And there's residuals of that, but then they're also not feeling joy
Right.
necessarily in their life. And so they perhaps come in with like a depressive disorder or something, or even some a complex cocktail of diagnoses. And it's that process of like, well, how can we build a relationship then that's safe enough for you to start to go through essentially this process of connecting with yourself, connecting with
Yes.
energy, trusting your emotions and your responses. Like if you were pissed off because someone was yelling at you, yeah, of course you were. Like most people
Yeah.
would be. If someone knocks your coffee over with their elbow in the line, you're going to be like, what the hell, dude? What are you
Right.
doing? Right. Like, again, going to your point, the greatest myth, like it's not a good or bad emotion or sensation. It's a response to our environment and honoring and trusting. Even I know you talk about your nervous system in this book and the great great grandmother, right? That's like
Hmm.
there's wisdom in that for sure. And we got to like, okay, thank you for that wisdom. And it doesn't mean I have to live in fear of the things that have happened before
Right.
or any of the possible things that could ever go wrong for a human being, right? Like that,
Yes.
let's put that aside and actually live what's happening right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure, with the work, the brilliant work that you do and how it crosses in with what I do, it's just, the body just becomes so balanced. I've had people, literally come in and like their spine is like this, and literally by having them feel
Mm,
and from like what do you feel in there and just feeling it and then like emotion or energy gets released and it's like just party with it, it's like I'm always saying just party with it. And I mean it was probably within 20 minutes, this guy went from this to this, not focusing on his alignment,
yeah.
but it's just what he had compressed in there, had been like a a hockey ball, and
Yes.
it just started, we just feel, and it wasn't, he was like, whoa, it was almost like a roller coaster, but it was like, we kind of like all talked about like it's just vibrations, and
Yeah.
you tell me, I mean, within the paradigm that we're talking about of energy, I mean, is trauma like almost compressed energy? It's like so much has happened at a time in the past that it was, like you said, too much to
Mm-hmm.
deal with in that moment. And that's a great ability that the human body has to like, this is too much. I need to pocket this so I can manage and survive.
Yeah.
And that it's just really energy that gets locked in somewhere in the body and then it's almost sealed
Mm,
until you kind of let yourself start to feel it. And for
yeah.
me, I don't go really into the psychological of it, but it's just the energetic.
Just the present moment experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is
And
really
because I'm not
powerful.
I'm not a psychologist or anything, but It's like
And
the
your
work
work has
that
been really healing for people, right? For
it
them
has.
to
It
go
has.
from crunched over to the side
Yes.
and closed
Yeah.
off to standing up and feeling energy moving and releasing something that's been there for days, months, weeks, years, right?
Yes.
That's a big
Yeah.
deal. And so in service of, I know you work with actors, but you also work with entrepreneurs and other folks who find
Yeah.
themselves in fearful places, which, well,
Yeah.
being a human, right? Whatever you do.
Absolutely.
Talk about
Yeah.
a surgeon in your book. I mean, you could use it when you're, I don't know, doing construction and demo on a big building. I don't, you can use it
Absolutely.
pretty much
Or
anywhere.
lawyers, a lot of lawyers that, they have to do their closing argument. And if they, an interesting thing is that if you suppress anything, you block a communication experience with whoever's there. And for a
Yeah.
lawyer, their audience is in their closing argument is the jury. And if they're feeling nervous and they suppress it,
Mm,
their their mind starts firing up, and the ability for their audience to connect to them is limited because they're not letting themselves connect to them.
yeah.
And the thing is, I've worked, for years with actors, and actors are, have to put their ass on the line, and they're going to feel nervous. And we've all been taught that nervous is bad, especially in acting school. But by allowing that nervousness to be there, like an audience like leans forward and they're fully there with that person.
Mm,
And they don't appear nervous. They just appear authentic
yes.
because it's not a bad energy. And it's almost like that your being is generating energy to help you do the task at hand.
Yes.
But if we're not trained to allow for all that vibrational frequency, and that's all there to help you. But if we
Yeah.
manage it,
Mm,
as I said before, we manage it and then the signal gets distorted and people are like can't fully trust you because it's like you're hiding something. And
uh,
and there's such beauty in someone allowing themselves to be nervous without running away, like staying out, staying connected with the individual or the audience while this energy is happening and breathing, and then it's going to shift and shift and shift.
yeah.
It takes bravery to
Yeah.
do what I'm talking about, but it's just, it goes back to the myth, that there's these bad, good and bad sensations, and that's a troubling myth that that I'm trying to undo.
You're also talking about vulnerability, right? Like
Yeah,
being seen in how you truly feel. And I know you mentioned a few times like going on a first date and the energy that goes with that. And it kicks me back to college where like I'm super attracted to someone and then I'm just like so closed off because the energy's so much and then it doesn't go anywhere. And you're like, well, yeah,
right.
because you couldn't like
You didn't let them
be
see you.
true, right? There's
Yeah,
no connection there. And I think that's such a huge piece of what you're talking about. And we're talking about
yeah,
here, even when you talk about like trauma and energy getting stuck, I think of harm and I think of protection and just how our bodies are wired to protect us from harm and to learn from
hmm,
past experience. So we can bring, whether we think of it as an energetic block or, a neurological pattern or whatever, if there's an experience of harm, we're going to learn from that. Good job, brain. Thanks for remembering and bringing it
hmm,
forward. And then if that's not the case anymore, especially we have this protection in place that prevents us from connecting with other people. Right.
yes,
So I can't show that I'm nervous because that time I was nervous in fifth grade at the play, somebody pantsed me in front of everyone and then they called me a name for the rest of the year, whatever. Like
right,
even
totally.
things like that we carry
Yes,
forward. And then there's this rule, right, that we're maybe not even conscious of, like, oh, I can't show this emotion or I can't show that emotion. I'm gonna get, and the sort of harm in it is also social. It's like, well, I'll be made fun of, or people won't like me.
right.
I feel like
Yeah,
there's a huge social element of your work. Actors are with other people, creating connections with other people, performing for other people, right? People receiving that are looking for some kind of connection or meaning or story or
yes,
experience. And so it makes so much sense to me that when you connect with something that's true, that's real, that's alive in the moment, that that's more compelling because I think so much of what so many of us want these days is just something real and something connected
Yes.
and human and honest. And even if it's messy, right? Even if it has all this vibration,
Like, thank
really
God,
low vibration.
yeah, absolutely. And if you think of, been to a play or even somebody, public speaking, and they mess something up, but they're like open about it and not contracting. It's like the audience is like, sometimes they'll applaud. Do
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it's like something real is happening. And so often we think we need to present this, 3.0 version of ourselves. But ultimately, no one wants to see that, not in this era.
Yeah.
And if you can allow whatever is there to fully be there, if you're, a podcaster or, you know, wanting to connect to people in any way, it's like that's the most powerful connection tool is to honor all these charges.
Yeah. So much of what you describe also feels like yoga to me. And I know you said you've done yoga since you were 6 years old.
Yeah.
How did that influence your work? How do you see that connecting?
I mean, it's been, I still, practice, pretty much 3 or 4 times a week.
Nice.
I mean, how has it not?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I'm like, it's
It's
connecting
so,
with emotions, it's releasing emotions. I think what
yeah,
in yoga people do is, or people mistake that like calm is always the goal. So there's that element in yoga where it can
right.
get suppressive, like I have
Yes.
to be spiritual and I have to be calm all
Yes.
the time. That's one maybe contrast, but you know,
Yeah, in my classes, we do like usually some kind of physical warm up and there's a yoga element and like some people are, that have practiced for a while, like they're like, you
yes,
know, and I'm like, what are you doing? That's not that's actually suppressing yourself. Like
they're getting
it's more
so
like
serious.
it's more like what is this? Like whoa, what is that? Like and it's just trained me to be in my body and honor, it's a magical thing in the universe that we have this body, and I mean, maybe there's other bodies out there, who knows, but it's pretty astonishing that we have this and that it's an experiential entity that we are,
Mhm.
And I sometimes say, like, if somebody's like, I don't want to feel that, like I'll sometimes jokingly say, well, in 100 years from now, when you're floating around, you're going to be like, oh, I really missed that anxiety thing and that fear. And now I'm just like,
It made me feel so alive.
yeah, it was so, oh gosh, and I missed it, It's like we don't know what's going on, but why miss this physical being that we are? Like, why miss it? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Why? And that's, back to your original question. If you're in your mind, like you can't you can't fully connect. You can't fully connect with you. And the more that you connect, I mean, this is how, back to the question about yoga. It's like the more I've done yoga, the more I have a connection to the nuance of sensation.
Mm,
That's like it's so rich. And the more that you explore, like the more that there's, oh my God, there's all this sensation and all this sensation.
mm,
And that's been, key to, for me, for like the practice of being spontaneous while I'm acting is to be, my goal, I don't always get there, but is just to get to a place where I'm fully in the unknown. Of course, I know the story that we're telling, I know the lines, but it's in that unknown magical place where
mm.
art happens.
Yeah. Rather than rehearsing something and having every little inflection point down, like
Yes.
letting your voice carry in the way it wants to carry in the moment in response to the person that's actually in front of you, or just leaving space so it doesn't have to be so hunkered down. I mean, I feel like we can. You're also talking about a yoga philosophy, in my mind at least, of stira and sukha, of like structure and ease, where it's, yeah, yeah, know your lines, know the story. If you show up and you're just like, hey, I'm here to be spontaneous, and people are like,
Right.
who's your character? Like, that's not going to
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
But you have that down, and you can even use, if there's, anxiety or energy, you can use that energy,
Absolutely.
get the
You have
character and
to.
steady
That's your
and
job,
prepare.
you know.
Yeah.
And I would say that's everyone's job in the moment that they're putting their ass out into the world and whatever, whether it's a date or whatever. It's like your job is to honor this and use it to um, to reach your potential.
Yeah.
And there's so much out there that is, holds these different things as bad. And it's all of that is just suppression techniques.
Yeah. And I think of that at times as protective of true connection, right? You've probably been in a workshop or two where one of the assignments is to like gaze into your partner's eyes for 10 seconds. Have you done that? I'm sure,
I'm sure I've
as
done,
an
yeah,
actor, you've crawled on
yeah,
the floor and, acted like an alligator
yeah.
and done all those warm ups, right? Like, I feel like those moments of connection can feel really vulnerable. Or even as
Oh,
an actor
yeah,
yourself, someone comes and says, oh, I love your work, right? And it's like, oh, that's a lot of energy coming at me.
right.
You could, push it away, or you can connect with it. And there's always these moments for all of us of opportunities for connection. And whether or not we lean into that, or we have some wall come up. And sometimes there's good
Yeah.
reasons for boundaries, like, don't get me
I mean,
wrong.
no, I think the ability to put up a wall is fantastic. Again, it's just you don't want that to be your lifestyle.
Yeah, 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 you
And
don't want to live behind a wall.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I developed it's about 25 different tools that I call inner atomics,
Mm,
which encompass all of human behavior.
mm,
And they're all energetic patterns, basically.
yeah.
And, in playing with kinespheres, and there's like a kinesphere of being armored and like holding energy away. And there's a kinesphere of like I call welcome to my living room, where it's like as if you're having a party and like come in, come on in. And all these, came out of teaching people how to create any character for any role in any medium. And then over the years, it's been like, wow, these are interesting tools to transform people in a completely non-psychological way by just seeing what inner atomic they're living at and then saying, hey, what about try this?
Yeah. You use the word kinesphere. Can you define that for folks listening?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what the four kinespheres that I that play with, and for me, it has to do with the energetic. It's often the energetic pattern, the energy that extends past the body.
Mm,
And so there are two big kinespheres and two small kinespheres. And look, I was just describing like the big kinespheres. One is you as if you're maybe 25 feet away, you have a chain link fence and you're not going to let anybody in.
mm,
And that you'll meet people like that and they'll shake your hand and be like, you know, and it's like there's no invitation. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And this can be great tools for an actor to play a character like that.
Yes.
And then so that's one, and it's like you're just holding energy. Don't come in. This is my space.
Mm,
And then, as I was just saying, the next big kinesphere is what I call welcome to my living room. And it's like everything is open. Anything can come in. You're you're so strong because you're just receiving with I can handle whatever. Come in, come in, come in.
mm-hmm.
And then the small kinespheres One is the kinesphere right at the perimeter of the body.
Mm,
And often those people are like at a party, like they'll stand really close to you,
yes.
and they have no sense of space. And sometimes that can be like a great thing to play with if you're feeling, in like in a social situation and you're like, but if you just play with like, there's no boundary. I can walk right through space,
You're describing my dog
Yes.
in your face.
Oh, totally.
He would get
Like,
in your
yeah.
skin if he could.
Yes, yes, 100. That's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the other small kinesphere is a withdrawal from the immediate environment, it's almost like spinning inside, going
Mm,
in, leaving the outside world.
yeah.
And that can be both meditative and beautiful, and it can also be depression.
Yeah.
Can almost be, like it's like I know in periods of my life when I've felt depressed, I was like my energy was spiraled inward
Mm,
and I could see what was around me, but I was in here
yeah.
and
Right
I
far
and
inside.
far inside. And I've experimented, just with people in class that, that were feeling some depression at one, and I don't, this is not, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
And be like, well, what happens if you kind of uncoil and not in psychological way at all, but just uncoil energetically and start to take in, and maybe even welcome just as an experiment. And it's so interesting to see, people like, whoa, like come, it's like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. That's like, but then it's like, it's all play, and if you just treat it like play, it's like, oh, wow. Oh, I can live in this arena.
Yeah. It's play and it's being open to change and not so identified sometimes. I mean, sometimes people say, I feel depressed, and sometimes people say, I am depressed. And there's a big linguistic difference in that.
Mm,
There could be a big identity difference in that too, right? Well, I've always been this way. It's just how I am, or I've been this way since this happened, or since I was 16, or whatever you say. But playing is, going beyond the bounds and seeing what happens and not knowing. And so there can at times be an identity piece even for people to shift, or even just a habit, right? Like we get in a habit and a routine in our bodies and the way we relate to our emotions and our thoughts, and we're just there. But then you go to a class that's about acting, and next thing you know, you're expanding energy out and going, this actually feels different, right? This is a whole
hmm.
different experience of my body and of
Yeah.
other people probably too.
Yeah. And I think, what you said about identity is something to really, I think I don't know the name of the chapter, but it might be a malleable identity,
Yes.
is that, we develop an identity out of very early on. We'll either see people and be like, oh, I want to be like that, or, most of this is very unconscious. And then we create a structure and we like, oh yeah, this is me, like you were saying. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, this is me. But so often those identities that we created were created by a much earlier version of ourselves that was just latching on to fitting in or like grammar school or like you said, not to be made fun of, or and then we, without awareness, we we continue to live in this structure. And again, it takes bravery to like, okay, well, what's outside this structure? Do you know what I mean? Because it's a disruption.
Yeah.
But when people do that, it's like magic. Oh, it's like they blossom.
Yeah. There's fear on the edges, right? Of doing something,
Oh yeah.
being
But
something.
it's fear, it's like a membrane of fear that feels like, oh, I could never, But
Yeah.
then once you step through, you're like, oh my God, this is what was I doing,
Yeah. I have a lot of questions that came up while I was reading. You talk about we live in a culture that values confidence, like have the confidence first and then do the thing. And you're like, no, 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 feel
Right.
the feelings and do the thing, feel the sensations and do the thing. And I think we live in a culture that values extroversion, like the person at the party who seems really comfortable and outgoing and lets their energy flow. And then I noticed in your book, there was a page that had notes from the workshop that was handwritten. And one of the negative thoughts someone wrote was, I'm an introvert. Like that was preventing them maybe in acting or in whatever their skill or service is. That was a thought that was preventing them from connecting, engaging, feeling sensations, whatever. So I'm wondering if you have any thoughts on this, like introvert versus extrovert. Some people say introverts like hear words in their heads before they say them, and that's just a different style. Have you come across this in your work?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're in such a culture of wanting to label ourselves and to give our also to label ourselves with some affliction. Do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Oh, you know, I have this, you know, uh, syndrome, or I have this, not to say that there aren't people that have illnesses and so on, but a lot of times extroverts they're just suppressing. It's a form of suppression because they're really tender and scared and vulnerable, and they've come up with a technique
Mm,
to they're putting on a mask.
mm-hmm.
And because, there's times when I'll know if, if I'm at a dinner party and there's somebody that's like having to talk all the time, it's just like, shut up. You know, it's just not, there's not, and they're saying the stories that they're saying they said at the last dinner party.
Yeah.
And so that's a way of hiding
Yeah. Yeah.
and to hold like vulnerability as bad, and vulnerability is so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think about how people say introverts need time, more time alone, extroverts need more time with people. I mean, I want to just validate and celebrate we're all different and wired differently. So, we're all going to find what works for us and what's true for us. But what you said matches with if we're wearing a mask, that takes a lot of energy, right? We
Yes.
feel like who we are isn't okay. And we have to
Not we
fight.
don't we feel it's not we feel we hold the
We think,
story,
yeah, if
which
we
is
have this
different
story.
than what we feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then
True,
we
right?
run that over and over and over again, and it's like, this is my identity.
And the draining, the energy drain that can have, right? Of
Yes.
that story feeling really true, feeling
Yeah.
kind of locked into it.
It's all part of this great myth. Like we just, all of us, we don't have to be different than who we are. But the more we can increase our tolerance for what, I don't even know what the, word is, but the more we can increase our tolerance for living in our body,
Mm,
the more everything starts taking care of itself.
mm,
And it's exhausting to perpetually manage and suppress yourself.
yeah,
Like it might be like, oh, no, I'm safe in this little bubble, but you're spending so much energy managing this natural these vibrational patterns. You're like using an exorbitant amount of
mm,
energy to not let, you know, the buzzing in your torso buzz.
yeah,
And then so many people that I work with, when they start to just let things feel, own the vibrations, it's like, oh my God, I have so much energy.
yeah,
And it's just all that's happened is that they've stopped using all their energy to manage themselves.
yeah,
And it doesn't, it comes out of the great myth, it doesn't help you. It's like, and, you know, so many of just going kind of extreme, but, like these mass shooter, these people that go out, it's like, and then you find, they interview the next door neighbor and they were like, they were really quiet.
Right.
and it's like because they were suppressing and suppressing and suppressing until they couldn't contain it anymore and then, you know, blow off, whatever. That's an
Mhm.
extreme example,
Yeah.
but it's like we get into trouble when we're over managing something very natural.
Yeah. Suppressing or judging, right? So
Yeah.
it's just part of being human.
It's like, yeah, it's like, putting you know, a band around a tree and being like, nope, you cannot grow. No,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah. And then the band's going to break eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the tree will die, whichever wins,
Never wins. Yeah. You talk about playing small too. I think that's like a really common expression. And when you talked about that membrane of fear right at the edge, right? It's like
Hmm.
moving through that takes a lot of courage, takes, you give so many sort of anchors in your book of using your body, using your breath, using sort of a mantra to come back. There's all these ways. What would you say to someone who's like right on that edge where maybe there's something they want to do, but they're feeling a lot of fear and they feel the contraction with it?
I mean, when any person, no matter how much they've achieved, extends further out into the world, it's natural, it's normal, it's guaranteed that you're going to feel more. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not a sign that you're not ready. It's not a sign that you're not professional. It's just what happens to the body as it extends outward. And I think that it's part of an ancient survival strategy that we've inherited. I talk about like the great 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 grandmother who's in the cave and somebody runs out of the cave, carefree, and they get something bad happens to them.
Yeah.
And so this great 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 grandmother is like, I'm not gonna I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
And that gets passed down. That survival strategy, which was the right survival strategy for that period of time, it gets passed down, and without awareness, we will continue to not leave our cave, whatever that is. It and I talk about just talking to your nervous system. Like
Mm.
it's almost like you're talking to your ancient grandmother. It's
Yep.
and literally just say we're okay. We're gonna go talk to some people right now, and this the vibrations increase, like, but we're okay,
Yeah.
because the nervous system sometimes doesn't know the difference between almost literally getting killed and for an actor like going into an audition
Yeah.
because you're stepping out into the world, and we just have to nurture and honor, our great 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 grandmother
Namaste, great
that
great great grandma.
yes, not yeah, and just be like, we're okay, we're okay,
Yeah.
we're really okay. And yeah, and we're feeling a lot of stuff, but we're okay. And that just un it 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 undoes the past, and
Hmm.
it's maybe even honoring, you know your great great grandmother,
Yes.
it's we have this is the survival strategy of this time.
Mm.
we have to we have to allow ourselves to be present,
Mm.
because otherwise we're going to continue to work out of our heads, and it's
Yeah.
going to be it's our mind. We can't put our mind on the altar because it's an abusive thing that is there trying to protect us,
Yeah.
even saying like, you're no good at that, that's something you're not good at. It's just like, stay in the cave,
Yeah.
be safe, don't feel too much, don't,
Yeah.
and that, like I was saying, that may have been a great survival strategy at one time, but now it's the wrong survival strategy.
Yeah.
We can't keep going this way.
Yeah. Well, we need connection and we need connection with ourselves and with other people. And that's such a primal urge that even
Yeah.
the fear of getting out of the cave, it's like, well, if you're the only person in the back of the cave and everyone else is outside, I hope you come out at some point because you're going to survive with connection to other people,
Yeah, I
not
love that.
just
Yeah.
hiding by yourself alone in the dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and if you're hiding alone in the dark, enjoy it. Might as well make the most of it.
Make it
And
cozy, bring in a
make it
candle.
cozy. And sometimes it's great to, withdraw
Yeah.
from the outside world and just be in like a really private time and,
Yeah.
and that's important to give to yourself as well.
I hear in a lot of your work that dynamism, that being able to be dynamic, right? Just like an actor is not going to play the same character every time. If you have the different kinespheres, if you can be in the cave, out of the cave, if you know what those sensations are like, if you can connect with the experience, work with the experience, right? Bring a candle
Hmm.
into your cave or whatever, or not, like that gives choice. And that's a big thing in trauma recovery too, is a lot of times people don't have choice for the traumatic thing they've been through, and then their body responds, great great grandmother responds, and they go, what the hell was that? And then they're stuck in confusion and a lot of swirling stuff in the body and trying to manage it, and coming to a place where it's like, oh, I can understand now a little bit of why I responded the way I did or why my nervous system did. And then having a choice of like, okay, well, what do I want to do with that? If my body wants to hole up, do I want to do that in an unconscious way or a conscious way? Right. Maybe I
Right.
go to restorative yoga. Maybe I do a retreat. Maybe I, make my home this lovely little cove that feels so nest like, that feels really nourishing for me,
Yeah.
if that's what I'm needing. Right. But
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
having a choice rather than it having some default, or having, like you've said, that
Yeah.
mental chatter that's like criticizing the choice at the same time. Well, you
Yes.
never leave your house, or whatever the
Right. Yeah,
narrative
yeah,
is.
yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also interesting. I know there's times when, I have to be in some kind of public arena, but I feel like I just want to retreat and, and I experiment being like, yeah, like what is that? What are the atoms doing? Like what is the actual vibration of it? And it's quite intense sometimes. But it's like, let me just go out into the world feeling raw.
Mm,
Like, like, what if raw isn't bad? What
yeah.
if raw is like, whew, and it's a lot, but it's also, it's, it's beautiful and it's much more beautiful than I feel raw and it's like armor up and like, how you doing?
Yeah. Faking out. Yeah.
You
Putting
know,
on a persona.
yeah, because that's detrimental.
Well, it's disconnecting from what's true, right? It's
Yeah,
disconnecting from the sensations in your body too.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's the kind of acting that I think people don't lean into as much, right? When it's,
I mean, there's nothing worse if you go to the theater and like in 5 seconds if it's either going to be, oh my God, this is I have to sit through this because they're on autopilot, not revealing anything of themselves and just putting up a mask and it's
mm,
like it's oh God. It's one of the most horrible
what's
experiences
that
for me.
sensation like in your body?
It's just it's probably a little bit of anger and um and
Swirling and
and just like it's probably close to rage actually.
yeah.
I was still sitting in that seat, but it's like God damn it.
I
I have to sit here
have
for
to sit here and feel all this energy.
it's just it's disappointing because you're
Yeah.
especially like say with the theater like an acting is it's a ritual and in the ritual you want to fire up the imagination of the audience and that happens when the actor is open to their truth because then the imagination of the viewer makes the story come alive in their head.
Yeah.
But if we cross the line, and this applies way beyond acting as well, but if we cross the line and indicate or show this is what's happening, then the imagination of the viewer stops.
Yeah.
You want to give, you want to have a bit of a vacuum of aliveness so that people can then come in and like, oh wow, it's this, it's that, you know?
Not to be gendered, but it's mansplaining the audience, right? You're like
Yeah,
over
yeah,
explaining to the
yeah,
audience.
yeah.
Let me
Or,
tell you
or
everything that's
and
happening here.
women could mansplain too in that
Take care. Any
situation. It's
person
like,
can mansplain.
yeah, yeah,
We'll call it over explaining for
yeah.
this
No, let's.
gender.
I like mansplaining. I think that's a good term.
So
Yeah,
I have this question about so committed impulse is the name of your work.
yeah.
And I'm not talking about myself here. I'm totally talking about myself here. Sometimes when big decisions come, I can get stuck in analysis paralysis. Like
Uh-huh.
it's a thing that I thought I moved through because I used to do it a lot as a teen. And then it's happening right now with one part of my life. It's just a trip I'm planning and I'm just like over the top. And it's going to be amazing because it's over the top because I'm like
Mm-hmm.
detail and I know
You mean the trip is over the
the
top?
trip is going
Amazing.
to be amazing and over the
Oh,
top.
wow.
Yeah,
I want to
because
hear
I'm
about
like,
that.
do we want to do this or do we want to do this? And I just keep going
Right.
back and forth. And I enjoy it actually. But sometimes analysis paralysis is not enjoyable. And the term committed and impulse is like, you're going to just go with it. You're going to cross that threshold of that fear bubble. You're leaning into it. You're riding it. There's no more question, right? There's no more doubt. And then the impulse is usually a really quick thing that comes up quickly. So I think about even intuition there too, and the difference between that and like being, the impulsivity of just, I don't know, eating 18 bags of Cheetos in a row
Yeah,
or
but
something.
yeah, but that's actually a suppression of
Right.
impulses.
Right.
Like
Yes.
impulses are so, it's like the purest expression of who you are. And
Yes.
like so often impulses are considered something bad.
Mm,
Somebody was, an impulse crime or an
right.
impulsive act. You see it on the, as a definition on the news. But that's really somebody that has suppressed themselves, suppressed themselves, suppressed themselves,
Yes.
and then it came out, "Wah,"
Yes.
in this. So, but the purity of of a spontaneous moment, the purity of an impulse coming out is just perfection.
Mm,
And the
mm-hmm,
more that we trust that, the more that we handle situations absolutely perfectly.
mm-hmm.
But it's like we're in a culture that is where mind is at the top of the food chain, like that's the hierarchy. And as I'm going all over the place, but as children, if you're in school and the teacher calls on you and you go, I don't know, like that's humiliating. That's the worst thing. And so we then go through life going like I'm always going to know.
Yeah.
I'm always, but a magical place is to be in, I don't know. I don't know, because then you're open.
I love
And
this.
and if I have any mantra, and I don't have many mantras, but if I have any mantra to myself as I'm about to shoot a scene,
Yeah.
and the lights and the camera and everything's being set up, and and my mind starts going like, oh, you'll do this, and then you'll do that moment, and I was like, wait a minute. And it's like, I just say to myself, I don't know what's going to happen. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen. And then I can go into the scene and really be with that other actor and find the magic of this dance that has never happened before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes, that's when my best work emerges, when I forget and I go like, I'm going to go on my path and I'm going to do it this way, this way, this way, this way. Often like the director will be like, yeah, let's try it again.
Something's off there.
Like all the choices are right, but there's no spontaneity. There's not no impulse. And a lot of the work that I do is just lots of exercises that are playful and sometimes a little strenuous, but anybody can do them. It's just stepping a bit outside the what we're used to.
Yeah.
And just training people in exercises that require being spontaneous.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not hard work. It's just like just and then the more that they do this, and this is people in all professions, the more that this they've retrained their nervous system that it's okay to follow an impulse. It's okay to walk up to someone and say something. It's okay to be like, actually, this is what I want to do with my career. I was just talking with someone last night who came over for dinner, somebody very well known and very successful. And and he was talking about like I actually want to do this whole other thing, and it's like, and then I started doing it, and and this guy has made set like since I've known him three career shifts.
Yeah.
Somebody that everybody knows, and it's like it's so if he suppressed his impulses, he would just stay in the same trajectory and die
Yeah.
die fast because it's like this is what's secure, this is what's worked in the past, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then if the impulse is like, Actually, I really want to go over here, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know what that would mean, and I don't." But for me, like
Hmm.
that's the juice. That's where you're become so alive.
Yeah.
And you're gonna vibrate more, you're gonna feel more. But if you that's why it's just so important that we increase our tolerance for ourselves, and then we can cross those barriers that we talked about. And yes, you're gonna feel fear. And what's bad about fear? Like, who said fear is bad? Like, it's just if you feel the purity of the vibration, like someone would say, in class, I'll go, like somebody will get up in front of class and they'll be like, I feel so much anxiety. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic. And like, what do you feel? And it's like, and then I go like, move with your hands, on your chest, like try to generate the experience that you have when you feel anxiety, and like, go ahead. It's like, and I have them like moving their hands all over their body, and then I was like, is that kind of what anxiety is for you? And I was, and they go, yeah, that's it. And then I'll say like, well, is it really that bad? And then their face is like, hmm. And it's like, actually, it's not that bad. Do you know what I mean? But we know there's this word anxiety, and we know it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people have identified excitement as one energetic pattern, and if we could measure it for another person, that same energetic pattern, they might have been like, oh, this must be what anxiety is, and it's bad.
Mm.
So I need
Yeah.
to suppress it, and then I live in my head.
Yeah. Yes. So much in what you just said. And part of why I wanted to ask about that committed impulse is I went to a meditation workshop years ago at Spirit Rock out here, and they talked about decisions, and the best decisions being the ones that you can, like the quality of the decision directly being related to how long you can tolerate the anxiety of not knowing, right?
Wait, say that again. That was
So
real.
the
Say that
quality
again.
the
Yeah.
quality of the decision directly related to how long you can tolerate not knowing the answer, how long you can tolerate not knowing. So when I'm asking you about over planning and all these other things, like there is an element of it's uncomfortable because I'm like, oh, I want to know and I want to tell everybody else this is the plan. But there's also this very alive, and for me right now, in this case, joyful experience of dancing around with different options, right? So I
And let
think,
me let me ask you,
yes.
do you think you're hitting your upper boundary of like feeling so ecstatic and joyous? Is that a possibility? Because it sounds like you're having so much fun, and maybe it's like, you know, it's like that can almost be like
Oh, yeah.
disturbing,
Oh,
to
yeah.
allow. But I would just experiment with like this, like letting it go and not feeling, and you'll come up with the right decisions.
Right. Yeah.
And those decisions are coming out of your body, and I'll bet, because I know this, I'll do this. It's like, this is what we got to do this, and then it's like, no, wait a minute, no, no, that's and then your mind will be like, no, I
That's
have to,
reckless. Yeah.
yeah, that's reckless or whatever.
Yes.
But that might be something to play with. And
It
those are
totally is.
treat those as impulses of like, I want to go there. It's
Yes.
like treat it like a impulse to follow.
You're just gonna have me extending my trip another week, Josh. Another
Come on.
week to come back to work. It's so funny. And I think with things like this, it's like I saw some meme in the middle of this that was like, I hope your biggest stressors today are like, should I go to Dubai or Paris or something like that?
Right.
It's like, well, this is good. I'm having like, experience around planning something really fun with my family. So it's good to have that perspective, but it's also fun to play with these sensations in lighter scenarios, right? We
Yes,
can apply
absolutely.
it and practice it and then
Yes.
learn from it. There's that saying, for whatever it's worth, of how you do something is how you do everything. So it's like how you plan a trip is how you decide if you're going to marry someone or how you decide other
Yes.
things. And so there's so much aliveness in your work and in your book and even in the way you write it. So I just want to celebrate and say thank you for, I mean, just reading it inspired so much in me in, how I was preparing for this interview or all kinds of things. Now, my dogs are celebrating in the background now. I don't know if you can hear
Yeah.
them, but
Yeah, I hear him. That's great.
allowing things to be
Yeah.
such a powerful truth, right? For all of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. And it's like almost like who are we to not let things be,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh, yeah. Trying to get my dog not to bark doesn't really go
Right.
very
Oh
well.
no. Oh no.
It
That
doesn't
just
go very well.
yeah.
So I was inspired. I usually I want to wrap up and tell people where they can get the book and
Okay.
connect with you and all that, but I've never done this before on my podcast. I've heard it on others. I want to do a lightning round. It's like 5 or
Oh,
questions. Are you
okay.
ready?
Okay, good. That just rose up some fear, so I'm gonna party.
It's
I'm gonna
fun.
be I'm
It's a
gonna feel the
party.
charge. I'm gonna
Party with
feel
it.
it. I'm gonna party with it.
All right,
Okay.
Josh Pais, favorite Italian food.
Eggplant parm.
Favorite Yiddish or Hebrew exclamation.
Oi.
All-time favorite movie to watch.
I'll just say I just watched Taxi Driver again,
Yeah.
and that was a movie that really instilled in me, yes, I really want to be an actor.
Yeah.
And just like the commitment and it's just so brilliant. Of course, it's violent, at the end, but it's like it's so committed.
Mm,
It's everybody is so in it.
yes.
It's just awesome.
Nice. So it shows what you teach.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, favorite book. It can't be Lose Your Mind or Everything is Figure Outable.
Jeez, let me look at some of these
Let's go
books.
favorite book to reread, something you've gone back to.
This Perfect Day by
Oh,
Ira Levin.
I don't know that.
It's a little bit hard to find.
Okay.
It's a futuristic world where, well, it's just quickly I'll say it's a futuristic world where everybody is medicated so that they don't have violence in the world, and everybody's in like on the same track. And then there's a couple people that catch on to this is happening, and
Yeah.
they're breaking out of it.
Wow. Definitely going to look for that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
That's awesome. Favorite yoga pose or practice?
Ekapada Rajakapatasana.
Love that. Just I love saying that one. That's like such
Yeah,
a great pose.
yeah.
If you had to perpetually repeat an acting project that you've done before over and over again, which one would you choose?
There was a movie that not a lot of people saw, but you can catch it online. It's called Touchy Feely,
Okay.
and it was with an amazing director who is no longer with us, Lynn Shelton, this amazing director. And it was just amazing cast. And we started with a structure of a script. We had the whole story, but some of the scenes were in the script were written like this happens and then that happens and this happens. And then and we would just improvise the story, like honoring the story, but there was so much improvisation, but everybody in it was so grounded in their characters. And
Hmm.
it was just so free and spontaneous and so much fun. It was
Yes.
so much fun making that movie. Just beautiful. The movie's got so much heart. Allison Janney is in it, and we have this crazy scene where she's a Reiki healer, and I'm
Right.
this like really suppressed guy, and kind of falls in love with her, and
Yeah.
it's just like there's so much, yeah. And I play
Uh,
this dentist that suddenly gets the ability to heal people, and
oh,
he doesn't know what's happening, he doesn't understand it. Yeah, so touchy
oh,
feely,
touchy feely. Yeah, I'm
touchy
gonna look
feely.
for it. I'm gonna look for it.
Yeah.
Last question and a little more of an emotional one. What's a story you hope people tell about you after you're gone? 100 years from now when you're floating through. And it could be a funny one, it could be any little story.
Like an incident,
Yeah, like
like
something,
or
oh, I remember Josh. It could be this
um,
one time or would always tell us or something that you just hope people carry forward.
I think it would be something in committed impulse class when Josh demonstrated physically representing what was going on inside his body in a non-verbal, purely physical way,
Yeah.
and that opened up the door for other people to experiment that way.
So remember that time when Josh was
Yeah.
demonstrating anxiety or anger for us and how that
Yes.
looked and
Yeah.
that
Or whatever his truth was in that moment.
yeah. And then what people took from that. So the echo and the
And
reverberation.
just how it was like, oh, I can do that too.
Yes, I can do that too. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the reverberation of, I want to say freedom, right? Of creating
Yeah.
freedom.
And impulse and following impulses and creating something beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've done that and you're continuing to do that. And I agree, something really beautiful. You've said a few times today, it's like connecting with ourselves, but you said it differently, like really being yourself and freeing your energy. There's something really powerful about that. So
Yeah.
celebrate it.
Yes.
So your book is out on September
30th. Yeah.
30th.
And it's called Lose Your Mind. The
Yes.
path I have, this is the cover.
Focus
Lose Your
on video.
Mind,
Take a look.
the path to creative invincibility.
Yes, I love that. And there he is on the back.
There he is on the back.
Uh-huh. And I was going to ask, what's your hope for this book? But I think it's what you just said. Is there anything you want to add?
Uh, you know, m- this may sound arrogant, but I feel like this is my gift
Yeah.
to humanity. Like
Yeah.
this is the best gift me that I could make and give. And my dream is that people will read it and feel more alive, healthier, more vibrant, more playful. A lot of the book is about being playful and just engage with one another and just get out of our heads, really, because it's not a good place. It's not a nice place. Our mind is not nice. I'm not talking about inspirational
Yeah.
ideas, but the chatter is not nice. And
Yeah.
so, and it's not worth trying to make a better set of thoughts. It's you want to step out of that paradigm completely because your mind wants you to try to fix it, but it's like step out of that paradigm completely, and then there's this whole other arena to play in.
Yeah. To live in and to play in. How do you think
Yeah.
the world will look different if everyone does that?
I think I think people will not let, I think starvation could end on the planet because people be like, I can't let that happen. I think I think violence would decrease
Yeah.
because so much of violence is a result of suppressing and not knowing how to deal with, say, anger, for example.
Yeah.
Like anger is just a charge. It doesn't mean you have to punch somebody,
Right.
but it's like be in that charge. There's nothing wrong with it. It's awesome. And it can also be used to create magic and create art and write a book or give a lecture or whatever.
Yeah.
So I just feel like people would be more alive, more connected, and I write in the book that, there's after Hurricane Sandy and also after the eclipse, the big eclipse that happened in the last year, that after these big events or 9/11, after these big events, people are like walk through at least the streets of New York and they really see each other like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we've been through something.
Yeah.
And then, and unfortunately, so far, until people read this book, unfortunately, it's taken like often a catastrophe
Yeah.
that we were like, wake up and and we're together and like the experience that's happening right now, the fact that we're these humans on this planet walking past each other on the street, that's pretty trippy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We're
it's
flying
just
through
to,
space.
yeah, but it's just to be like, not pretend that we're by ourselves,
Yeah.
you know. And we also have to recognize that this thing, this technology, it's designed, people are spending millions, billions of dollars to keep us in these little things and be addicted. And
Hmm.
then we become very manipulatable. We're killing off this because people make money when we do this,
When
and
we just
it's like,
tap the phone
I'm
screen for
not saying this
hours.
is bad, but but just to catch if you're addicted and then be like, okay, what am I feeling? What
Yeah.
am I trying to get rid of? And
Yeah.
when there's an impulse, whether it's an impulse or just a desire to like to pick this up, like take a moment and go, instead of just getting lost, be like, what am I feeling? Maybe it's boredom, maybe it's fear, maybe it's uncomfortableness, and then let yourself feel it. And then if you still want to do this, do it. And
Yeah.
one thing that I'll experiment with is if I'm in a restaurant by myself,
Yeah.
I'll get uncomfortable sometimes,
Yeah.
and then I want to pick this up,
You want to just go
and
straight
some
to your
I
phone.
want to
Yeah.
go like, yeah, this'll this is good medication. And then, but I'll experiment being like, I'm just going to be in the restaurant and I'm going to feel this charge. So like I'm practicing increasing my tolerance for being uncomfortable
Yeah.
so that it's not something I have to run away from.
Mm. Yeah.
And it's not something I have to manage. It's just like, okay, yeah, well, and this is a lot of vibrational frequency, but it can be really fun, you
Yeah.
know. It can be
It'd be
really fun.
fun and we can play with it, right?
Yes, totally. It's
So many
all
of the
there to
things,
play with.
so many things you describe make me think of we talk about in PTSD as avoidance, right? Well, either I'm on my phone or I'm overworking or I'm eating 18 bags of Cheetos at once or I'm whatever the thing is, it's to not feel something. And
Exactly.
I love breaking it down into sensation and just being with the sensation in a way where we allow it to pass. And yes, especially if you have PTSD or you've been through things like let's get some help, hold your hand, get a professional that can help you through
Absolutely.
those really big,
Yes.
gnarly, with
Yes.
judging them, intense emotions.
Yes.
And there's so many micro ways we do this every day, right? In
Right.
terms of, oh, I'm in a restaurant alone, I'm going to pick up my phone. Why?
Right.
Did you need to do something or were you just uncomfortable or was there some sensation creeping up that you didn't want to feel?
Yeah.
So connecting. And the thing that I love about this is, I learned to eat alone in restaurants traveling in Europe before cell phones, when you had to text by like pressing A, B, B, C, C, C. So it was like
Right.
way too much work. And I loved it because I would just meet so many people. Like if I
Yes.
wasn't sucked into something, or even if I didn't pull out my journal or a book, if I just sort of sat and looked around and then I'd like catch someone's eye or someone needed the ketchup, not ketchup in Europe, but pass it over,
Right.
whatever it is, you can actually connect in the moment and some beautiful things come out of that, like relationships, opportunities. Hey, come over to my house for dinner. Okay. I mean, they're things that sometimes seem wild or crazy when you're traveling. And when I was traveling in that way, that ended up being amazing memories. Right. So we
Yes.
cut ourselves off from that with the little choice of, I don't know what to do. Let me just play a game on my phone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me sit and it's just suppressing yourself.
Yeah. So just
And
what,
if you and sometimes, sometimes that's not so bad. but it's just, again, like sometimes like I just want to look at my phone,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
tired.
but it's just when it becomes a lifestyle that it's just not good for you.
Yeah. It's not creative invincibility.
It's not creative
Yeah.
invincibility. It's creative suppression.
Yeah. Yeah. So your book comes out September 30th. People can get it,
Yep.
I'm sure, online,
Everywhere. You can
somewhere,
get it
everywhere,
everywhere, online,
person, all of
bookstores.
it.
Yeah. If your bookstore doesn't have it, just be like, why not?
Why don't you have this book? Hello.
Yeah. Yeah. But it should be everywhere. And yeah.
And Audible too. You read
And
the
Audible. Yep.
wonderful.
It's on Audible and Kindle.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. I did the audiobook a couple weeks ago. So.
Awesome. And having a book coming out is enough, but I just want to give space if there's anything else coming up that you want to share.
Just if anybody listening is interested in coming and training with me in committed impulse, I don't teach, all the time. I teach a couple times, 3 or 4 times a year,
Yeah.
but it's just a blast and it's always the best people. And you just like walk out of there feeling so alive and so present. And it's just so much fun. So
And I know you
committed.
offer online. Are you doing in person as well?
Yeah, and I'm for several years because of COVID. I shifted to teaching online, and
Yeah.
it actually worked really well. But now I really want to get back. And so
Oh,
I'll be teaching on the committedimpulse.com,
okay.
and you can see what I have coming up. And I'd love, yeah, come play.
Yes. Awesome. So is that the best place for people to connect with you, follow your work, Committed Impulse?
Yeah, or hit me up on Instagram when I'm suppressing myself and want to.
Suppressing yourself in your DMs. I mean, that can be
Yeah.
play too, right? I mean,
Yeah, no, no, sometimes it's super fun. Yeah. It's just I try to really catch
yeah.
if I'm using it to get away from something.
All about our relationship to things, right? Like how are we interacting with them? And yeah.
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 Well, thank you so much for coming
This
on.
was so much fun. Thank you.
Me too.
You're
I'm glad you
awesome.
had fun. And
I
I'm
had so much
excited
fun.
for your book and the impact of it. I already told my partner and I want to send it to my stepson. I'm like, okay, let's get this going. I think it's
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of energy and good juju in it. So thank you for that.
Yes. Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. Now, I'd really love to hear from you. What resonated with you in this episode? And what's on your mind and in your heart as we bring this conversation to a close? Email me at info@howwecanheal.com or share your answers and what's been healing for you in the comments on Instagram, where you'll find me at How We Can Heal. Don't forget to go to howwecanheal.com to sign up for email updates as well. You'll also find additional trainings, tons of free resources, and the full transcript of each and every show. If you love the show, please leave us a review on Apple, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and keep sharing the shows you love the most with all your friends. Visit howwecanheal.com/podcast to share your thoughts and ideas for the show. I always love hearing from you. Before we wrap up for today, I want to be super clear that this podcast isn't offering prescriptions. It's not advice, nor is it any kind of mental health treatment or diagnosis. Your decisions are in your hands, and I encourage you to consult with any healthcare professionals you may need to support you through your unique path of healing. In addition, everyone's opinion here is their own, and opinions can change. Guests share their thoughts, not that of the host or sponsors. I'd like to thank our guest today and everyone who helps support this podcast directly and indirectly. Alex, thanks for taking care of the babe and taking the fur babies out while I record. Last and never least, I'd like to give a special shout out to my big brother, Matt, who passed away in 2002. He wrote this music and it makes my heart so very happy to share it with you here.